Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's class on poultices. Tonight we are going to be learning about natural remedies called poultices. A lot of people do not know what the word poultice means. Do you? No. Okay. So a poultice is something that is used where we use natural remedies, and it is something where we can apply these natural remedies, things that you have typically in your house, in your kitchen, your cupboards, and we're going to use those things to draw out different things. So we can use them to draw out infection. They are sometimes used to reduce inflammation and they always use simple ingredients, hopefully that you have in your cupboard. So what's great about them is when you cannot get to a hospital, you cannot get to a doctor, a lot of times there are things that you can use at home that can really help you. Okay, and so that's what we're going to be going over tonight. I've put together my favorite ones that I think are the most effective. And I want to start with this Bible verse that I love. It's found in Psalms 103, verses 1 through 5. It says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquities, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from destruction, who crowns you with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfies your mouth with good things, that's always good, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles." Who doesn't want their youth renewed like the eagles? That to me, especially as I get older, sounds pretty wonderful. And so I just want to have us bow our heads. Father in heaven, we just invite you into this class. We invite you into this time, and we ask that you would add your blessing to these natural remedies, that you would teach us from on high how to use things in our own homes that can be helpful to our bodies, Lord. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for blessing each participant, and thank you for being with us. And we ask this in Jesus' holy and precious name. So, do you know of any examples where poultices were used in the Bible?
When Jesus got the
When he made clay for the eye, yes, that was definitely a type of poultice out of spittle. He put it on the man's eyes who were blind. But I'm thinking of another example, and there's really only one solid example of a poultice in the Bible, and that would be King Hezekiah. And King Hezekiah had a boil or had some boils on his body that were making him very ill. And so they took figs and heated them and put the figs on the boil. And that's found in 2 Kings 20, verse 7, and Isaiah 38:21. Then Isaiah said, "Take a lump of figs." So they took and laid it on the boil, and he recovered. And that is our one example of an actual poultice being applied in the Bible. And figs, well, we're not doing a fig poultice tonight. It is good to know that figs can be used to draw out infection. They also reduce inflammation. And if you have something hard, like sometimes when people get boils and things like that, they can get crusty, they can get hard. Figs can be used to soften that kind of skin, but it's amazing that it draws things out. So I'm assuming you can also apply that to things like spider bites and things like that. So there are lots of figs in South Carolina and around the country. And so that is a good thing to keep in mind. You can heat it. I mean, if you don't have a way to heat the fig, I would probably just cut it in half, apply it where you needed to, and put something loosely around it to hold it in place. Most poultices you hold in place for at least a few hours, mostly 6 to 8 hours is kind of a good time frame before you change your poultice. And so that tonight we're going to be going over some of my favorites. We're going to be looking at the onion, the humble onion, and how it works. It's actually one of my favorites and one of those that was spectacular, and would have been very helpful had people known what it did when we were all having problems breathing with COVID. And so this is something to go forward. This is awesome for if you have any breathing issues. The humble onion is your friend. And so we're just going to go through onion poultice tonight. I'm going to teach you about cayenne. We're also going to make a cough syrup this evening. We're going to do ginger, talked about potato, and then I'm going to teach you about how to use activated charcoal, which I think is one of the most spectacular natural remedies on the face of the planet, and how you can apply that and use that. But we're going to start with the onion tonight. And this onion has so many wonderful properties in it that when you cut an onion when you're cooking, it almost immediately can make you start crying, depending on how, you know, some sweeter onions don't do it quite as much, but like these yellow onions will really do that. It does not matter when you're making a poultice what type of onion you use, just needs to be an onion. But what's amazing about this is when it's applied properly to the body and in the body, it opens up our airways. It allows you to breathe. It can be used as a cough syrup to calm the throat, which is just amazing. And it just takes a few simple ingredients. So we're going to kind of jump into that, and we're going to look at the onion. And so what you need, and this may surprise you a little bit, but when you want a large onion, okay, to use this for, say, somebody who is just really having trouble, they're coughing a lot. We've all had those times where you lay down and you get that tickle, or you've got bronchitis, or any kind of COPD, any kind of lung issue can be helped with an onion. Now, how you apply it may surprise you. We're going to be putting it on the feet. All right. So an onion, when you apply it to the feet, can be smelled on a person's breath within 60 seconds. Is that not amazing? You have so many pores on the bottom of the feet, and it pulls that onion up instantly into the bloodstream and goes into the respiratory tract, and you can smell it on their breath. And I just think that's amazing. So all you need is a very, very large onion, okay, or 2 medium onions, all right? And you're going to take this onion and you're going to cut it in half, all right? And so once you cut the onion in half, you're going to divide that. And so you're going to chop that onion. And I chop my onion fairly small, not teeny tiny, and I've gone ahead and pre-cut it so we didn't have to take time doing that. So this is half of an onion this size. So we're going to be chopping it small like this, and then you're going to want to find a couple bags, any kind of bag you have at home. Just make sure there's no hole in the bottom. Okay, that's my tip. Make sure there's no hole. So this is very simple. We're going to take our onion pieces. We're going to put it in our bag, and we're going to be placing the person's feet or foot against the onion. Okay. Now, I will tell you that because onions can be, slick at the bottom of the feet, wait till the person kind of either gets to the side of the bed before you do this, or if they're going to be sitting on the couch for a while, you might do it there. You really want to be careful once this is against the feet to not be doing a lot of walking on it, because I don't want people to slip and fall, and you definitely want to have this in place. And so I'm going to have my husband come up here, Bill, and he's going to be our pretend foot. And I'm going to have you come around on this side, if you don't mind, or behind me. All right, so we're going to use his hand as a foot. Do you mind if I use your other hand? It'll just be easier for me. So you put the foot against the onions, then you pull the bag up around that foot, And then you're just going to get a big old white sock or some kind of sock, all right, that's roomy. And then you're just going to pull that on, okay, and hopefully put them to bed. Now, once this onion is against the feet, you're going to want to leave it on 6 to 8 hours. So it depends on the time of the day, but if you put it on right before you go to bed, it's great. Let them sleep. In the morning, have them take that off, and then you want to, just kind of wipe the bottom of the feet off. And you can repeat this again. I will give your feet a little bit of a break. Don't ever reuse the onions. Those need to go in the trash. You need to get a fresh onion and start over again with that process. But you'll notice that when you combine this along with the cough syrup we're going to make, it works spectacularly for just opening up the airways. Do you want to breathe on me? Yes, I smell onions.
Normally I'm not allowed to do that.
I didn't know if you really would or not, but I figured you probably would. Okay, so this is our onion poultice. Very simple, right, ladies? Okay, so is this something you can do? Do you have any questions about the onion poultice? Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and yeah. So immediately go to bed. This poultice is good for all night, and hopefully this will really cut down any need you have of having to go to the doctor to get something else. So we'll pull.
Well, just leave that on there.
Because
Helps my breathing.
we're going to reuse the sock, but you can take that off.
No.
So that is our simple onion poultice. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Very simple. I love this one. It works so easily and so fast. So, okay. Now we're going to make a little cough syrup. All you need is a small jar. Okay. So I'm just reusing an olive jar. You need, again, onion. Now this time I took my onion and I diced it as small as I could. Okay. Just really, really tiny. The only other thing that you need for this is some honey. I like to use raw honey. And so and this is going to make a syrup that you can give to children. You can use this for yourself. It's ready in an hour or more, but we're going to make it at the beginning of the class so you can kind of watch it make the syrup. So basically, we're just going to layer some onion in the bottom of our jar, just about half an inch or so. Okay, and then we're going to put maybe a teaspoon or two of honey on here. And then we're going to layer a little bit more onion. And we're going to go up until we have basically filled the jar. You run out of the onion that you're going to use. And there's a lot of natural healing properties in raw honey. It's good for soothing the throat. Of course, you don't ever want to use raw honey on a child, an infant under the age, or baby under the age of, I believe it's 2. So you would use something that's been pasteurized if you're making it for an infant. Okay, we'll put a little more honey on here. And then you're going to see that this is going to form a syrup. The honey begins pulling out the healing properties within the onion. And once we make the syrup, oh, that was good. You can strain off the onions, okay? And then you'll just store the syrup in your refrigerator. And it's good for a week to 10 days or so. I've had it last longer than that, but they say a week is pretty good. So I'll just put the rest of these onions in here. Okay. We're going to pick these up. Now, once you're done, I always feel bad about throwing away the onions. The onions, I've tasted them. They're nice and sweet. I mean, if you can find a use for the onions after you separate the syrup, knock yourself out. They might be good in a little bit of a salad or something where you want a little sweet taste, okay? But basically, we're just putting a little more honey on here, and we're just going to put our lid on. And all we're going to do is we're just going to sit, and well, while we do our class, we're going to let this just pull out the natural juices. And we'll look at this after we get a few more of our poultices down so you can see exactly how this works. Now, if you are taking this for yourself, you can use, 2 teaspoons for an adult. A child might be a half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon. And you can do this as often as you feel like you need it, maybe every couple hours. It just depends on how much of a cough you have and how hard that is, okay? How hard your cough is. So that is the onion. It's a very simple, lovely poultice, one of my favorites and one of my go-to poultices to use all of the time. So in our cough syrup. Okay, let's look at our next poultice. This is going to be cayenne pepper. So have you ever used cayenne pepper?
Yes.
Okay. Who here likes the taste of cayenne? Have you drank cayenne before? You have? Okay. So one of the great things about cayenne is that it has so many natural uses in the body, okay? You cannot overuse cayenne. Unless you have an allergy to cayenne, cayenne is one of the best and most wonderful things that you can use. It improves your circulation. It improves and pushes your breathing, your respirations. It improves your urine output. It is a natural pain reliever, antiseptic, helps migraines. It stops bleeding wounds. I always carry a bottle of cayenne pepper in the glove box of my car. I do that because if I come upon an accident and someone's bleeding profusely, can't stop the bleeding, I'm going to be dumping cayenne pepper on their wound. Now, they might not super appreciate that, but, applying pressure is great. But sometimes cayenne just stops bleeding in its tracks. Now, while it is hot, it will never, never, ever burn you. It can also be used to stop bleeding ulcers in the digestive tract and even on the outside of the body. So it's one of those things, it will never, ever blister or burn you. And that is really important to know because a lot of people, when they eat cayenne, it's so hot that they think, oh my goodness, this is burning. It has heat, but it will never burn you, and that's what you need to know. It can be used. Actually, now I've never used it this way, but it can be used according to Jethro Kloss from Back to Eden in an enema, and he says it will relieve the most obstinate constipation when combined with slippery elm or lobelia in an enema. So that is one of those things. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. I've never done that, have no interest in trying that, nor could I. It can also be used as a liniment. And so if you want to make a liniment for sore muscles, the Jethro's recipe is to take 1 tablespoon full of cayenne pepper and boil that gently for 10 minutes with 2 cups of apple cider vinegar. And you're going to put that without straining that mixture while it's hot into a bottle. And then you can take that and apply that to sore muscles, joints, places where you are having any kind of pain in that way. And that's just a natural liniment. But what we are going to do is we are going to, well, I want to tell you another thing about how this can push your circulation. When you drink cayenne pepper, you can actually get the blood flowing. There are people that have stopped heart attacks using cayenne pepper. So if the person is still conscious, but they're in the beginning stages of having a heart attack, you can take a glass of with a little bit of water in it and put maybe a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of cayenne pepper in there, stir it up quickly and have them drink as much as possible. And this can push the circulation, and there are people that have actually stopped a heart attack in doing that. So that is one of the ways that you can take cayenne. And so but one of my favorites and one of the significant ways to make a poultice is for diabetic neuropathy. A lot of people suffer with neuropathy pain. And so they have nerves that the myelin sheath is broken down, the circulation isn't working right, and so cayenne will help to push that and to restore the circulation. Some people have really cold feet. They're cold all the time, and so you can also use this natural way to restore and bring circulation to the bottom of your feet. And so what's involved in this, okay, is just getting a paper towel, all right? And what I do is we're going to actually pull out our saran wrap first. You want to have some plastic. Poultices love to be covered and protected from evaporation. So it is good to use something that can hold the moisture of whatever poultice you are using and applying, okay, to the body, as a cover. If you don't have saran wrap, you can use like one of those plastic bags like I've just pulled out. Any piece of plastic will do just to kind of insulate it and keep the moisture inside. So we're going to put our saran wrap down first, okay, our piece of plastic wrap. And then we're going to put our paper towel. This is where we're going to put our foot again. And so there are people that call for putting oil on this. I do not do that, because if you put oil on here to get the cayenne to stick, when the person takes it off and then tries to walk, the bottom of their feet become very slick. So what I use is a spray bottle with water. So we're just going to spritz this, okay? You could just dribble it on, right? But spray bottle, most people have a spray bottle. So we're going to get this a little bit wet, and then we're going to take our cayenne and we're going to sprinkle this liberally, okay, where the foot's going to go. All right, you don't want the cayenne pepper falling out, but you don't want it so light that it isn't going to make a difference, okay? So we'll cover this really good. We're going to put the foot down here. Do you want to be my foot again? Bill's going to have very healthy hands by the end of this. Okay, just put your hand down on here, and then I'm going to wrap this up over the foot. You want to just bring that around, snug it in, and then again, we're going to take our sock, and then we're going to pull our sock up over this, and then this is easier to walk on than the onions, obviously. Now, if you've had neuropathy for a long time and you have numbness in the bottom of your feet, or you've lost the feeling, one of the things that you might notice is after an hour or so, maybe take a little longer, it depends on the person, but once they have the cayenne against their feet, they might start to feel this little like pins and needles feeling again as the circulation begins to return. This is a good sign. It doesn't always feel good, but it does mean the body is restoring circulation and blood flow to the area. And so this is a very good thing to have this against the skin. Again, you can do this at nighttime before bed. It can make your feet very hot while you're sleeping. So just also beware if you're thinking, oh, I've got cold feet, I'm just going to do this to warm up my feet. Know that in the middle of the night, you're probably going to be peeling it off because your feet are really hot. So that's how effective that Cayenne is. And I absolutely love the effects of Cayenne. And this is just one of those amazing, amazing things. So, all right, I'm going to let you have your poultice there. Thank you for letting me demonstrate on you. All right. The next thing I want to show you, and this may actually apply to more people than neuropathy, and that is you can use this for hypothyroid. Okay, so cayenne pepper will stimulate blood flow. So we can do that with the thyroid gland as well. So what I do is I will go and get a paper towel. Okay, your thyroid gland is just located kind of towards the bottom of your neck. It's kind of like right in this area, okay? So I get little teeny tiny pieces of paper towel, something that if I fold it in half, okay, it makes just a little square, okay? Something that will just cover the thyroid gland, okay? And so this is something you want to do in the morning and know that this is going to bring redness and warmth to your neck. So if you're working at home, this would be a great time to do it. Or if you don't have to go into an office anywhere, you can do this anytime early in the day. You can leave it on for your comfort level. That might be 2 hours. That might be 3 hours. You don't need to leave it on all day. You don't need to leave it on for 6 hours. And if you put it on at night, it might be too stimulating to where it's waking you up, okay? And so you don't want it keeping you awake at night. And basically, what you can do is you're going to want to use some of this press and seal, which is one of those kind of cool types of saran that when you press it, it will stick to the skin. Okay, so I will take this and cut a piece. You want it to extend over your poultice at least 2 to 3 inches on each side, okay? Otherwise, it won't have enough area to stick on the skin. But surprisingly, the press and seal works great in that way. So again, I'm going to take my little piece of paper towel. I'm just going to get it wet here on one side, and I'm going to sprinkle liberally some. Oops, that might have been a little too liberal. You don't want it to fall off, but okay. And then, Bill. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to put the damp side against the skin. And I'm going to cut this here. Make a little square.
Basically, it almost acts like a tegaderm.
Yeah. Well, this is not nearly as sticky as Tegaderm, but yeah. Okay, all right. Well, it is sticking to me, isn't it? This side, I'm like, okay, this side doesn't feel so sticky. All right, so we want the wet side against the thyroid. I'm going to put this on your hand instead of up on your neck, all right? So let's pretend like this is Bill's neck. All right, so you're going to take this, put it over, press it in, press this on the skin. And what I find is like when it's on the neck, it's going to, kind of bunch up here. That's okay. But this works great, especially if you want to apply, let's say you want to apply a poultice to somebody's back. And you know how you kind of got that little divot where the spine is as you get close to the low back. And there's no real good way to use an ace bandage to put a poultice against somebody's spine. But the press and seal is great because it will go in and it will kind of help hold a poultice in place. Now, if you're going to do something like charcoal, you're going to put this on, but then you're also going to wrap because this isn't so sticky that it would hold something on while you sleep. This is like you're awake, it's during the day, you want to apply this, but this will help to push your thyroid gland. And like I said, it's going to turn red, it's going to turn your skin red. It's going to bring some heat and some warmth as it increases circulation, and it's going to help to stimulate just by bringing blood flow to the thyroid gland. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you look at the front door, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so that is our cayenne pepper, and I'm going to just demonstrate for those of you who don't think that you can actually drink cayenne, that while I want to tell you that when you take cayenne pepper in water, that when you take an eighth of a teaspoon versus a quarter teaspoon, even maybe up to a half a teaspoon, you can go up gradually, but honestly, you're only going to feel that heat on your tongue, but most of it's going over the tongue and into the body. You're not really feeling all of that heat, okay? And so you're basically, I'm going to just put in a quarter of a teaspoon here. I'm going to put that into my glass of water. Pop this back on. And I use organic cayenne, just like that. I'm going to stir that into my glass of water. It stirs them way better than green powders do. Okay. And then it's just a down the hatch. And this can be very refreshing, very, very rejuvenating. It's good. I feel the heat just in the back of my throat. It's not burning my tongue. And so this is a good way to just increase circulation in a great and easy and simple manner. So a lot of people have migraines, so this can help push your blood flow, heals digestive issues, like we said. And so I just encourage you to try that, all right? Okay. Now, the next poultice that we're going to make today is our ginger poultice. Ginger is one of my go-to poultices because so many people have pain in a joint, all right? And this is, or they have gout pain. The fastest way to get rid of joint pain is by making a ginger poultice. So I buy big pieces of ginger and store them in my freezer. So I grabbed this out of the freezer before we left. It's still mostly frozen. And it's easy to grate when it's frozen. Sometimes if ginger's gone too long, it'll be dry. I'm hoping this hasn't dried out too much. But we are going to make a little poultice for wrist pain. Does anybody here have wrist pain today? No? Okay, no joint pain? You have joint pain? In your knee, okay? Well, your pants are a little tight to put this on your knee. But if you are wearing shorts, we could apply this. Or when I'm finished, I'll give it to you to take home, and you can put this against your knee and wrap it around. And so you can do that with it, okay? And I'll send it home with you. So basically, all you need is your piece of frozen ginger. You need a grater. And I always just get a plate, any kind of plate, and we're just going to grate. You do not need to peel it, okay? we're just going to grate this. And actually, when you use your ginger frozen, our peel's actually kind of sloughing off here, which is fine. When it's frozen, it seems to help increase the moisture, which is nice because you want a good moist contact with your ginger in the paper towel. And so paper towel is a great way to apply this. So all you'll need is a pair of scissors, a paper towel, piece of plastic. And I like to go to places like Walmart or Target, and usually I find this at Walmart, but you can probably find them at dollar stores too. But where you can get a pack of like 24 of those super thin washcloths, okay, super cheap, and they make great poultices. So what I like to do with this is get your washcloth, take your scissors, we're just going to cut it in half. Okay. This is going to be our bandage. It's an easy way to use bandage. You can also use puppy pee-pee pad. You could use a sock you pin in place. You don't have to have these. I just find them simple to use. So I've already got my piece of saran. Now this is our plastic that we're going to use on top to wrap around to keep the moisture in, okay? So I'm going to put this down first. And then if we're putting this on a sore wrist, if you have gout pain or joint pain, put it over any joint. It does not matter. You can make one of these poultices teeny, teeny, tiny to wrap around a toe. If somebody has gout in their toe, if you have gout in your fingers, you can use it there. It just takes a little more time to, make yourself some little poultices, okay? But basically, we're taking a paper towel that we're going to fold burrito style. So we're going to put our ginger in the center here. We're going to spread it out. We're going to fold this up. We're going to fold our edge over, just like we're making a burrito, and the top down. Now we want the side that just has one thickness against the skin, and we want moist contact. And what's going to happen as we apply this is that ginger begins to pull inflammation out of the joint. And it does this, it's doing it because it will go through these cycles. It will get warm, 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 hot, and then it will cool down. And then it will go like it waves, warm, 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 hot, and cool down. So as it's heating, it's pulling that inflammation out. And then as the body flushes those toxins out, it begins cooling down. And so honestly, I think it feels good. When you have a sore joint, it's almost like putting a heating pad on it. But sometimes people get worried because if they have a lot of inflammation in that joint, that poultice gets really hot feeling. It will not burn you. Ginger, again, will not burn you. And you can leave this on again 6 hours, 8 hours, overnight. Usually I have someone who comes to the class who's having some kind of almost a frozen wrist because they've got so much wrist pain. So it's a really great one. When they put this on, when we wrap it around, they wear it home. By the end of the class, they are usually really feeling the heat of it and want to make sure it's not going to burn them, which is not. And then I encourage you, wear it overnight. And by the next morning, that brace they were wearing for 6 weeks, gone. Don't need it anymore. It is wonderful. When I was teaching this class in Pakistan back in 2019, there was a man that attended the class that came in. He'd been crippled for 2 years. He had not been able to walk on one of his feet and ankles for 2 years. And so he heard the class, he went home, he had a bunch of ginger, he grated it up, he made a great big poultice to wrap around his ankle and his entire foot. And in the morning when he took that off, He was able to walk for the first time in 2 years. He was running around his neighborhood. He was riding his bike. He was shouting hallelujah in the streets. That man was so happy. So a single night with ginger a lot of times can be life-changing. And a lot of people suffer with gout pain and with arthritis pain and whatever. But sometimes when you have pain in an area like your knee, you don't always know if it's the joint or if it's the tissue around. And so you can alternate. One night you can do ginger, the next night you can try a potato poultice. So you can take a white potato or a red potato, you can grate it just like we've grated our ginger here, okay, which I'm going to put on our poultice. And you can put that potato works great for bringing down swelling and inflammation in a muscle. Let's say you were playing kickball, someone came around, or soccer, someone runs up and kicks the side of your leg and you've got swelling there. That's a great time to apply potato. You do it exactly like we're doing this, but sometimes when it's close to a joint, you don't know. Is this from inflammation, from localized swelling, or is this actually in the joint? And so you can alternate to see which one helps you the most. So I'm going to just open this up and put this down on here. And we're going to make our little, we're going to spread our ginger in here. And you kind of spread it just like you would peanut butter. And you want it, like I said, you want it to be moist. If it's too dry, you may need to spritz it with a little bit, or dribble a little bit of water on there to bring out some moisture, because you want a damp or wet contact. When it's frozen, there's like that natural dampness that comes out. And so it's excellent. So we're going to, we've got that spread about 1/4 of an inch thick, okay? And so we're just going to fold that bottom up, fold the sides in and the top down, and you can see already we're getting like a nice wet contact here through the paper towel. And this is the side you're going to put against your knee. And so we'll put the back here on the saran wrap, and you might be using your wrist. And we'll just demonstrate this. Okay, so hold out your hand as closest. Okay, so if we're putting this on wrist, we're just going to wrap this around. Okay, feels nice and cool from being in the freezer. Then we'll put the wrap over it, and you can do this, with your knee as well. And then we would take our cloth, and we're just going to put our piece of cloth over this to hold it in place, or you can use a sock, okay? Since you're using your knee, you're going to probably want to get an ace bandage or something like that you can use at home, and then you would just, carefully pin this to hold this in place, and then sleep with it like this. So this is a very simple way to apply the poultice. So I'm going to just take this off for you. And I'm going to fold it in half. So all you have to do is open this up. Okay. All right, that should be somewhat simple to use. And go in your bag. And then you'll need to find, an ace bandage for your knee, okay? All righty. Then that is our ginger poultice. Ginger is amazing. And I absolutely love it. Now, I do have one caveat with the ginger poultice, and I need you all to hear me if you hear nothing else about this poultice. Okay. If you use ginger on a joint, you cannot, everybody hears me? You cannot eat popcorn. You cannot eat corn chips. You cannot eat corn on the cob. You cannot eat corn in any form. No cornstarch. No grits. Okay. All right. Because corn is what makes your joints inflamed. So if you if you go and you put this poultice on to bring the inflammation out, but then you go and you sit down with your bag of microwave popcorn and you eat it, you are likely not going to feel the results you want. I had a friend, loved her dearly, and she was having swelling in every single knuckle in her fingers. Painstakingly made little teeny tiny poultices to go around every joint, put them on. We actually used a glove, just put a glove on to kind of hold them in place. And then, said, don't eat any popcorn. That night, she made up a big bag of popcorn. I come out, I'm like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to eat popcorn. And she's like, but it's my favorite snack. And so she ate the popcorn. And in the morning, she said, the ginger poultice really doesn't work that well. Well, that's why. So you cannot eat the very thing that's causing the problem and expect the problem to go away. When I was at the juicing clinic, where we talked about last week, Dr. M used to say, stop cutting yourself, which meant stop putting the thing in your body that's causing the problem. And he said, you have to start with the real food, the natural ingredients, and you have to get the things out that are causing the problem. So while you're not going to necessarily find anything online that says corn causes inflammation in the joints, I'm here to tell you from my own personal experience as a holistic health practitioner, the people that eat corn have a lot of joint pain. Or when they come in with joint pain and I look at the things they're eating grits for breakfast, they're having sandwiches and pizza for lunch, they're having corn chips and nachos for dinner, and I'll tell you, microwave popcorn or those skinny pop is always their favorite snack. So we tend to be attracted to the things that we are addicted to the things that are actually causing us the biggest problems. Now, wheat will also do the same thing. Wheat is also going to cause joint pain and joint inflammation. So if you truly want relief from the joint pain you're suffering from, especially if you're having it like that, you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my goodness, like my hands, my fingers are so stiff. That's corn and wheat. So I call it, like, if I wake up in the morning, because I try to be very careful to not get corn, but it's in everything. So like when I was eating eggs from the grocery store, if the person who was feeding their chickens was using corn, GMO corn, that corn, even if it's not GMO, but it's hard for me to believe there's any non-GMO these days. You cannot tell a bee not to cross the street. So if that chicken is eating corn, that corn goes into the egg goes into you, and I call it being corned. So wake up in the morning, if my fingers are joined, I'm like, oh, or stiff, I'm like, oh no, what did I consume? But the thing is, cornstarch is used to thicken pretty much anything that is a condiment. It's in gravies. If you're eating at a restaurant, you're likely getting corn in some form or another. And so it seems to be as prevalent as plastic. So it's in everything. So that's my little caveat. Do not eat corn, and that will be helpful to you. Just become a really, really good label reader. And if you're at home crying because of what I just said, just look for real food ingredients. So instead of going and having all those pre-packaged box things, why not throw some sweet potatoes in the oven in the morning and set the timer on your stove, your automatic timer, to come on to bake them, a couple hours before you get home at night. Then throw some broccoli on the stove, or have some things that you can eat, mix up a salad. There are salad dressings out there that don't use corn or wheat to thicken them. Tapioca starch. You can have things like cassava chips in place of corn chips. Siete makes cassava chips. Cassava comes from the yucca root. Yucca is where we get tapioca. So all of those things are in the tapioca um, line of ingredients, and you can use those in place of your corn. When you look at something like potatoes, white potatoes can cause a lot of inflammation in the body. And a lot of times when you look at the label, it will say it maybe was cooked in corn, safflower, and soy oil. So you don't know which or all of those three, but if it has corn or, I mean, any of those are pretty much throwbacks anyway. So make a food at home, try and pick whole, real ingredient things, and that will cut out a lot of the problems, okay? So that is our ginger poultice, one of my favorites, and you can change your life with that. I want to point out that our onion mixture is starting to form a syrup at the bottom. You can see that liquid. In another hour, that's going to be even more liquid, and that's just really kind of a cool thing. So, okay, our next poultice, we talked about the potato, is charcoal. And this is our final poultice as well. Yes, we've done everything. So this is the last one we're going to go over tonight. Charcoal is my all-time favorite natural remedy. Okay? Charcoal is honestly one of God's greatest gifts to us. And in the end time, anytime you cannot get to a hospital, I want you to know this should be your go-to remedy. All right. You can keep powdered charcoal on hand. You can find it in different places. This is one happens to be from Charcoal House. I love them. They are amazing. But you can find charcoal powders online. You can find charcoal capsules. Charcoal capsules. This is also in my glove box because if I come upon something where something's being poisoned or whatever, I want access to charcoal. If someone's at a restaurant and they get food poisoning or they eat something toxic, I want to be able to access charcoal. Bill and I, when we went to Mexico many, many years ago, we wanted to eat at the local restaurants in Cancun. And so we went to where the locals said every single meal out. We took 2 charcoal capsules at the beginning. We drank their water. We ate their food. We never, ever ended up with any of the problems. Charcoal should always be in your luggage. You should not go anywhere without activated charcoal. Okay? So charcoal is an adsorptive, meaning it's not like a sponge where a sponge, if it's dry and you put it in water, it soaks up and expands, right? Charcoal adds to itself. It never gets any bigger, but it has these massive amounts of little crevices that are created through it that pull toxins to it. It's been said that a tablespoon of activated charcoal powder can adsorb the amount of bacteria that covers a tennis court. Okay, that's a lot. And so this is going to pull bacteria out of your body as well. And it can do it in many different forms. And one of the cool things about charcoal is that you can make it in your own backyard. And so this is a great and interesting way to have a natural remedy. So whenever there's a natural disaster, like a hurricane or something, and it knocks out everybody's ability to get anywhere, if you can build a fire out of wood, okay, and sometimes in flood zones, it's not always easy. My husband could probably build a fire on a boat and it would work. He's a huge pyromaniac. That man can build a fire that lasts for months. It doesn't matter. Rain, snow, it would not matter. That fire is still going. That's how powerful his fires are. But when you make a campfire, You know, when you get to the part where you see the coals are just kind of like that orangey red, they're glowing, they kind of look like they're crackling a bit. It's like the perfect marshmallow roasting fire. That's the point where you want to stop your fire from burning, okay? So you can do that a couple different ways. You can smother it by putting something over the top, all right? Like if it's a small fire, you could use one of those rounded lids to a charcoal grill and put it over the top so the oxygen stops the wood from burning. But the easiest way typically is just to spray it, hose it down with water, and that will just stop the charcoal from turning into ash. If you let it continue to burn, it's just going to burn to ash. Now, I want to tell you that the chunks you get out of there are not actually activated. They are just simply charcoal. They still work. They're just not going to be quite as adsorptive as activated charcoal, which becomes activated at much higher temperatures. Okay. It's just a level of how much will go in, how much will stick. So what you need to know about charcoal, that's super important. This is one of those things they use in hospitals, or at least they did when someone would come in with poisoning. They would give a person charcoal to pull the poisons out of the body. Now they have some other tools and drugs and things they can use as well. But charcoal will pull medications out. It pulls out toxins. There's debate as to whether or not it removes your minerals and vitamins. Personally, I'm not a believer that it does that, but you know, that I just don't believe that it does that. Now, maybe it does to a certain extent, but it will definitely pull your Tylenol. If you use a pain reliever of some kind, whatever medication you took, it's going to pull it out of the body. So if you need to take a medication, separate it by 2 hours. So if you know you're going to be using charcoal internally, then and you have to take a blood pressure pill or something like that, do it, wait at least 2 hours before you take charcoal internally. For me, I make up a slurry. Okay, this is my charcoal cup. And I do this and I will fill it halfway up with water. And then there is a spoon inside of here. And I'm going to show you how much I use very carefully. I always work slowly, and I should put my gloves on before I start with this. But I will use about 3 spoons that are this big. Let me turn to the side here so you can see this, of charcoal powder in one of these cups. And then I will take that and I'm only filling this. Actually, I'm going to get started. I'm going to put gloves on now so I don't get myself completely black here. My hands. I will fill it half full with water, put my, however many spoons of charcoal powder I'm going to put in there. And then I will put the lid on, close the lid, and then I will pull off a little piece of paper towel and I shake it up. When you shake it the first time, there's a reaction that takes place. When I go to open it, I cover the opening with a paper towel. If you don't, you'll be sorry. I remember one of the first times I did that, I just was standing here like this. I popped the top open and it sprayed charcoal up and down my neck and face. So I learned that lesson the hard way. So now I cover it and then I open it up and it will release that little bit of pressure and you'll get like black spray on the paper towel. And then I'll just take the top and finish filling it up to the tippy top with water. And then I will carefully put the top on it and then turn it up and down. I have about maybe this much left in here. So this is something I'll do. And then when I'm feeling toxic, because I don't have good detox pathways, and so this helps me if I'm feeling especially overwhelmed with toxins. I will take this at nighttime, and I'll drink about this much out of the out of this cup, and then so this might last me a week or more. I don't always need it every night or take it every night, but I have a dedicated straw that I use. use with it. I just shake it good. I'll stick it in. I just drink that down. Don't worry about it turning your tongue or teeth black. Don't worry at all about that. That just is pulling, it's adsorbing bacteria out of your mouth and out of your throat, especially if you're sick. This is a great way to pull that bacteria out. But the slurry is absolutely awesome for just bringing down infection in the body, bring down anything else. It's just if you've taken Tylenol or something for a fever, it's going to pull that out as well. So just beware. But it is absolutely spectacular. So what I'm going to show you though is how to make a charcoal poultice. So charcoal poultices are great for pulling infection through the skin. And it was one of the very first things that I became aware of and familiar with when I was also at Dr. M's clinic. He shared about a woman who had uterine cancer, and her uterus was completely filled with infection. He sent her home with charcoal poultice to apply at night, and so had made some up. She put it over her lower part of her abdomen, and in the middle of the night, she became afraid because she could feel this like tugging and pulling and bubbling, and it scared her. So when she pulled this off, it was just filled, the poultice was filled with infection. And so the charcoal was doing its job, and it will pull infection. It will, from a boil, from a wound that's infected. If you have a mass under the abdomen, if you have someone that ate something and they're poisoned, if you're coming, I mean, I've heard stories of people found in the jungle who were poisoned, and they put charcoal all over their abdomen, and within an hour they were awake and talking again. And so charcoal is absolutely amazing. But when you use the charcoal, it's just going to, I lost my train of thought with my original story. Where was I? You guys, do you remember what I was saying before that?
Your friend in Dr. M's clinic.
Ah, the lady. She became so terrified because no one really warned her. They didn't educate her that charcoal's going to pull toxins and infection through the skin. You're likely, if you have a good infection going to feel movement, like bubbling, like it's just kind of a weird feeling. If there's something there, it almost feels like someone's tugging it through your skin. And when the skin opens to relieve infection, that's the body's natural process. That's something that's normal. It works. It's amazing. And so, but she became afraid and she would not come back. And so this is why it's important to educate people what's normal. So sometimes people have so much infection that it will pull through into the poultice, and the poultice becomes overwhelmed with the fluid that's in the body, and it will almost just feel like it's releasing into the poultice, like someone poured water on you. It's kind of strange, and it depends on the person. It depends on what's going on with them. But I just want you to be aware that those are the kinds of things that can happen, and don't be afraid of charcoal in using it in that way. So I'm going to show you how to mix this up. And what you need are equal parts of charcoal and a binder, okay? So I'm going to put my binder in first. So I should have some flour here from Italy, so it doesn't have chemicals on it like flour from America, which is sprayed with Roundup 5 times before it goes to market. Okay, so we want equal parts. So we put in a spoon of flour. We're going to put in a spoon of charcoal, okay? It's just that you always want to keep your charcoal covered and sealed tightly. And any of those pieces, those chunks of charcoal that you would make in your own fire, you want to get them stored in some kind of a container where they're sealed. Otherwise, they're going to pull toxins from the air, and then they're not going to be effective. Okay. Then whenever you need them, you crush them into powder. You can use a stone. You can have a dedicated blender. If you have electricity, you can use a husband, get a hammer and just pound it. Okay. But you'll have that then to apply. So basically I'm just stirring up the charcoal and the flour here, and then you can add water. And my suggestion is to just add a little bit at a time because it doesn't take much to make a paste. Okay, and you want your paste to be about the consistency of wet toothpaste. Oh, I think I just got too much water in there. You want it to be about wet toothpaste so that it spreads easily. It's got moist contact once it goes through the poultice. And this is one where, I mean, you can completely use paper towel like we did with our other poultices. But if you can get your hands on some puppy pee-pee pads, that's better in my opinion because it's already plastic back. So you can see this is like, we've got, let me see if I can do this a little bit.
Sticky mashed potatoes.
Yeah, so it'll come down. You could make this a little bit moister, but I'm afraid I'm going to get too much water in there if I do that. Maybe just a few drops. Okay. All right, because we want that moisture coming through. And the thing with using a puppy pee-pee pad is that it has a little bit of that absorbent fibers in there, which will kind of pull the moisture out. So this is now a little bit more, wet. So, all right, so what I do is I just get the puppy pee-pee pads. This is one I've been cutting on for a while. As you can see, it's not the full thing is not here. And let's say somebody just has a small boil or I've got a lot more charcoal here than I probably need for this. So we may not put the whole thing on because you only want to apply it to the inside, okay? We hold and enough where it's not going to be right up against the edge. So I will see if I can do this with gloves on. Usually I try to prepare that along. Okay, let me do this. Oh, I'm tearing this. Okay, let me pull this. I stuck myself to the poultice. Okay, I think I've got it. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna pre-tape and then I'll put my gloves back on. Okay, so we're gonna tape our edge. All right, we're gonna tape a second edge. Actually, I'm not. I'm gonna pull this back and I'm going to open this up here now. We're going to put in some charcoal. And actually with the flour, you can see it's already getting thicker. So I probably would add just a little bit more water to this. We're going to put our charcoal in the center. Let's say we're going to cover a good size, infection. Maybe you got a boil. I'm not going to save more of this. So I'm just going to put it all on here. Okay, so you can kind of see we've got our poultice, but we've left some room on the edges, okay? So now we're going to put this over the top. All right. Before I press down, I am going to put some more tape on the edges so I don't stick myself to it. And we're just going to make a nice little envelope So when moisture comes in, it also holds that moisture in at the edges and keeps it from going on you. If you're wearing this, put this on at night or you put it on during the day, you want this to be in a little envelope, okay? Now, you can make these up ahead of time if you've got something going on where you want to apply a poultice more than one day in a row. You can make it, all right, fold it in half. All right, I'm actually going to squish this out a little bit so I don't get any on my hands here, okay? You can fold this in half. You can store this in a Ziploc baggie in your refrigerator. You just want it sealed, and then you can pull it out for the person needing it. You can microwave this for 10 seconds, 15 seconds to warm it up. Here's the thing. If you are not putting this on your own body, you make sure that it is not beyond warm when you put it on the other person, okay? So you want this to be moist contact. If you do this and it just seems like, oh man, I didn't get enough water in there, just take some water and dribble a little bit, or get yourself a little spray bottle and add a little bit of moisture to that, and then you're going to put this over the boil, the infection, and then you're going to cover this. We've already got our plastic on the back. We're going to cover this with saran wrap or use whatever that you've created, and that will go to work on pulling infection out. So this is just one of those wonderful natural remedies that are absolutely spectacular. The other thing you can use charcoal for is to purify your water. And this is where it is, whenever there's a hurricane or something like that, it always makes me wish that the information was out there. You can take what looks like mud puddle water, okay, which is what I use. I mean, I teach the people in Pakistan how to purify their water. And so if they can get a big pot, all right, you can take whatever water you have to use, and it can even be looking not great, okay? And you can put at least 3 or 4 big chunks of that charcoal we got out of the fire, put it in the bottom of that pot, boil the water for an hour, okay? Then you can take that and just get a piece of like t-shirt material, something you can strain it through, and you can pour that into something else after it cools, and then that water is going to be crystal clear and clean. So it will have adsorbed the toxins in that water. Boiling it helps to kill off anything else that could be in the water, and it is just amazing to watch. There's also a way you can make it using water bottles. Now, I would use like a big bottle, like a 2-liter soda bottle if you could, but basically what you do is you take a little bit of fabric. Like I would cut this again in half. Okay, so I just have a little piece, and I would put this down in, if this bottle were empty, I know there's some water in here right now, but I would tuck this down into the bottom, okay? And then I would take some of those chunks of charcoal we got out of our fire, but not the big ones, like little pieces, okay? Like the ones you've pounded up. You want at least a couple inches of those pieces of charcoal, right? You can put that in there over the top of that, and then you cut off the base of the bottom of your water bottle. First, I will take a sharp tip knife and I will poke some decent holes in the bottom. And then once you remove these 2 inches, you turn that over and then you take the bottom. So if this was the bottom of our water bottle, you tuck it inside, okay? It's got holes, so now it's going to drip the water. And then you pour your water you want to filter into that little kind of cup. Now, if you're using a big 2-liter bottle, it's easier than something this tiny. But as you pour it through, you're going to put also a little piece of, like this up in there too. So we're straining it here. The water's going to drip down into here. It's going to go over your layer of charcoal and go through another piece of cloth, okay, and then come out the other end. So you're going to put this into a, a a bowl or something to collect your water from. But when you do this process, this will help to purify your water. And it's a way using just water bottles if you don't have access to a fire, where you can kind of purify the the water that you're drinking. And so it's a great way to help when you are in a storm. Did that make sense, or was that really confusing? I mean, you kind of need to do it, but just don't forget to poke the holes in the bottom, and that they're big enough for water to drip through once you've turned it around and kind of worked that base back into your bottle. And just make sure you've got a big enough bottle to work with. Then there are people that will say, take the water you've collected, you can fill a different bottle with it, you can put it in the sunlight for several hours, and then that will additionally it will go to work purifying the water, similar to boiling your water. So that's kind of where we are with that. And you guys have been an absolutely wonderful class. Do you have any questions about poultices? Does everyone understand what a poultice is, what it's used for?
If you use the charcoal poultice externally, will it still pull out medicine from your system?
Great question. I'm so glad you asked that. So he asked if you use the charcoal poultice on the outside of the body, will it affect the medication that you've taken internally? And the answer is no. So if somebody has to take medicine, it is a great way to use charcoal where you do not have to worry. So there are people who have toxins in their liver. Like, you could make this as a much bigger poultice and just put it over your liver, which is on the right side of the body, kind of from the center over to the side. And so you would just apply the poultice here. If someone had a kidney problem, you would be putting it kind of mid back on each side, or depend, if you're doing both kidneys or one, uh, you you don't have to worry at all about this charcoal affecting any medications in the body. Okay. So it's just absolutely amazing. And when I was at the juice clinic, I went home every night with a huge one that went over my abdomen. And it just really, really made a difference in how quickly I healed, in addition to the juices I was drinking during the day. So God is good. He has given us the absolute best natural remedies. We will likely do a class just on castor oil packs, and the pack is different from a poultice that's putting something into the body instead of drawing something out. So there are a lot of different things that you can use charcoal for. Yes, sir.
If you have an open wound, like an open cut,
Yes.
are there any poultices that you should not use on that? I imagine that if you put cayenne pepper in an open wound, that would burn.
So he's asking if you can use what natural remedies you can put on an open cut. So there are people that will tell you, don't put charcoal on an open wound because it can tattoo you as it heals. And I'm here to say, if you have a bad infection in your arm or your knee or whatever, and this is a crisis, don't worry about your body pulling a little, healing over a tiny bit of charcoal. Honestly, I've never actually seen it happen on myself, and I have applied it directly. Okay. Cayenne pepper, if you're having bleeding, it is a great thing to put on. You can actually use sugar, white sugar, in an open wound that's infected, and that the bacteria will eat the sugar and they will begin leaving the infection. And so that's one of the things you can do, I mean, with sugar. And a lot of people have sugar in their home. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So are there any other questions you see that are online or anything like that? I don't know if people have questions. But we will go over castor oil packs at some point. That might be its own class. Our next class. Well, you also have in this handout. We're going to do flu balm with a different class. Turmeric poultice, which is a tablespoon of turmeric powder, a tablespoon of flour, similar to the charcoal, but you can use water or coconut oil. You apply it exactly the same way, but turmeric can stain the skin, whereas these other ones don't really stain. So it is one of those. It's an anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, helps with joint pain and wounds. I guess it just kind of depends on what you have available and what is in your pantry. And so sometimes you don't have the time to actually make charcoal from scratch, but you might have one of these other things on hand. And a lot of times there are going to be health benefits in the different things you use. And of course, the oldest poultice that was ever used on me was a baking soda poultice, which soothes itchy skin. But my mother would mix up baking soda and water when we would get stung by a bee or a wasp. And so you'd run in, you're crying, you're holding your arm or wherever you got stung. And she would just quickly mix up a little bit of that. She would just put it right directly on the skin, and she just have us sit there until it would dry and start to crack away. You can cover that, but I don't know that you have to. By the time that baking soda dries and starts to flake off, it's pulled out the poison, and so you can use this in an emergency in many different ways. Just remember, takes medications out of the system, and you can use them in many different ways. And God is good. He's given us the most amazing things, Miss Janice. And so our next class is going to be called Preparing for a Crisis. Okay, we're going to go over things like how to prepare our homes, how to prepare our gardens, what are things you can put in your emergency supply, what kinds of essential oils do you want to have on hand, what are some like have a stock of certain vitamins on hand, what should we be doing with our vitamin D levels, things that we want to look at. And also, we're going to learn how to make a memory scripture book. And that's a class that we're going to do that's going to be hands-on. And so there'll be a little charge for that, as I'll be supplying all of the materials needed. And we're also going to do an antiviral class where we make certain antivirals that I send home with you. Not sure if that class is going to be online or not, but I'm really hoping that more people can come out and be here in person. If there's a class that you're wanting to see or have me do, please leave that in the comments. Let me know. And you guys have been absolutely wonderful tonight. So let's have prayer and we will let you go. Father in heaven, thank you so much, Lord, for being present, Father. Thank you for the natural remedies that you've given to us to use. May you be blessed. May you be magnified through all of this, Father. Recall to our minds everything that we need to know as we go into this time of the end. And I know that we're going to need these things, Lord. Recall it to our mind. Let us be useful to help our neighbors, our friends, our families survive a crisis, Father. I thank you for hearing and answering this prayer and for being with us through this class tonight. In Jesus' holy and precious name we ask these things. Amen. And I also want to say, whenever you apply a natural remedy, just say a little prayer over it. Let God's blessing rest upon that natural remedy and watch what he does. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. And I don't actually know how to end it. I know you guys are looking at my neck, but this is my first live, and I don't know where the I don't know where the button is. So,
Slurry.
To be done because you're out from in front of it.
pardon. Sorry, guys, I don't know where the stop button is.